GM, everyone. Thanks for coming in. I'm going to give folks a few more minutes to join in, and then we can get started.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, GM, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Apologies for last week. Hopefully, X Spaces stay up this time. We'll see. I have a different setup going on today, so hopefully, with two computers, one of them can remain open the entire time. Just checking. Can you guys hear me okay? Because
Yep.
the audio is coming in a little weird.
Could hear you well.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. All right. So thank you, everyone. Let's get our space started here. So for those of you who are not familiar, we have Hush Protocol on today, and we're going to be discussing some of the co-marketing stuff that we've been working on for a little while now. You guys may have seen our announcement a few weeks ago, basically announcing the JudoSol integration. So we're going to go over all of that, basically all privacy related discussions. We can go over that during this call. But before we even get started with that, why don't we do some quick intros? Maybe Adi, if we can start with you, give us a little bit of a background. Where do you come from? How long have you been in crypto? And obviously, what do you do at Hush Protocol?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot, Cousin Greg. I've been in crypto for a little bit now. I started my career in 2019 at Consensus. Was there for about a year, and then joined Chainalysis after that. Was there for about 2 years, and then went into early stage VC. I was an investor for a couple of years, and I was at Republic Capital, and then joined this growth equity fund called 10T/50T Holdings. That is the lead investor and sort of incubator of Zenrock, and I'm the co-founder of Zenrock, and have been leading the charge on everything related to strategy, etc., over the course of the last 12 months.
Amazing. Really appreciate that. Jack, same question to you.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm Jack. My background is more on the traditional finance side. I traded mostly currencies and interest rate products for a few years in TradFi, and then got the crypto bug and joined 10T with Audi, and then from there we founded Zenrock together. So thanks so much for having us on.
Amazing. Yeah, so maybe can you guys talk a little bit about Zenrock? Because I'm not even going to lie, I'm personally not super familiar with, kind of the setup that you guys have going on. How does Zenrock kind of relate to Hush Protocol in this case? Is it kind of like a Hush Protocol is just spun out from Zenrock's, company or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to think about it is Hush Protocol is something that we at Zenrock felt was an important thing to build in the space, which was to kind of build a privacy layer that could be used for a broad variety of use cases. I mean, it seems like that, we can dive more into the privacy meta and why I think us and so many others find it to be important. But the main point is that I think what we've done at Zenrock is we've built out a large suite of kind of infrastructure and different pieces that all fit together to enable something like Hush Protocol to be possible on Solana. So we moved to build this from out of Zenrock. Hush Protocol is it's kind of its own standalone thing, but critically, the way that we've structured everything is that the fees that are generated from Hush Protocol now and in the future will drive value back to like the Rock token. So one kind of strategic decision we made was we're like, all right, we're not going to launch a new token for Hush just because we just don't feel like that's the right approach. So we kind of are consolidating everything around the Zenrock brand, and then Hush you can think of as just one of the products of Zenrock.
Yeah, and just to go off that a little bit, at its core, from an infrastructure perspective, Zenrock has two core foundational infra products that we've built out over the past year or so. One is a specific purpose layer one blockchain built specifically for decentralized custody, and the other technology is a distributed multi-party computation network that enables multiple independent parties to perform various different cryptographic operations together without a single entity or party ever holding the full private key. And this entire foundational infrastructure layer really powers all of our different products and assets that we've launched over the past couple of months. The first product that we launched in August on Solana was ZenBTC, which brings Bitcoin to Solana without a centralized custodian. We also launched ZenZEC, which is a wrapped Zcash product, and that does the same for Zcash. And the main point behind all of this is that there's no multi-sig, there's no bridge operator holding the keys. The custody by where the private keys are held is entirely cryptographic, and there's no centralized custodian behind it. And ZR Chain is our way of essentially coordinating all of the MPC operations. It manages all the validators. It handles all the cross-chain signing. So that's really the core of it. And then you have Hush, which we launched, with you guys and Jito Sol specifically, is the privacy protocol built on top of that core infrastructure.
Amazing. Okay. Thank you for that explanation then. Why don't we then pivot a little bit to the actual Hush protocol announcement as well as the Jito Sol kind of integration. Can you maybe first kind of explain just your thought process around why Hush protocol is needed, why we kind of need this privacy layer on Solana, and then maybe someone else can take the other side of it, which is why Jito Sol. Obviously, I think we internally know why, but very kind of curious to see why you guys kind of chose to build on Jito Sol with Hush protocol.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I could take kind of the first half of that, talking about why Hush and really what Hush is. Again, we've seen with Zcash over the past couple of months the privacy meta come back, and I think that we can talk about why that has happened. But I think that pretty much everyone in this space has acknowledged the fact that we are going to need better solutions for privacy, especially as more real world things happen on chain, right? So the idea of Hush was to say, okay, why don't we just build an execution layer that is seamless from a user experience perspective, right? Lives on Solana, no need to download a new wallet or transfer funds or do anything complicated. It just operates just like any other application on Solana, but allows for privacy, right? And so, we can talk about why Jito Sol, but the point is that, starting with that asset, we're building out kind of the initial liquidity. And what we're excited about as well is that over the next couple of months, starting with our first releases in a month and a half or so, we're going to start to build out a ton of other functionality other than just shield unshield transfer that can be done on Hush, right? Because we believe that for to win privacy, you need to be able to do as much in one private environment as possible to make it as useful as possible, because we've seen that users do care about privacy, but when you can actually do stuff within a private environment, that's when users actually care, 100 times more. So that's kind of what we're really excited about, about Hush more broadly. Maybe I'll pass it to Audrey to talk about why
Sure.
GeoSol.
Yeah, it was a really big decision for us to start off with accepting GeoSol as the first asset to be deposited into Hush. We've seen time and time again that privacy pools have this kind of cold start problem where users deposit, they get privacy, and then they just leave. And the pool kind of stays small for a longer period of time, which means, weak anonymity. And we kind of thought that how do we try to get users to deposit, get their privacy, and really stay? And we fundamentally do believe that GeoSol fixes that cold start problem. With Hush, you deposit GeoSol into Hush, you're earning the staking plus MEV rewards, which is, fluctuates, but they call it 5% APY while it's shielded. So your money is, your deposit is already working while it's private. So you don't really have that opportunity cost by not having the GeoSol APY. With native Sol, every day your Solana is in the pool is effectively the yield that you're not earning. So users, what we've seen, rush in and out, and the pool stays shallow. But with GeoSol, there's no real reason to leave that pool. You're earning the same yield you'd earn outside. So you stay, others stay, the pool grows, and as the pool grows, privacy is strengthened for everybody involved.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense then. For the user, then it makes perfect sense then that they would want to stay in the pool, right?
Exactly.
Versus, let's say, on Ethereum with Tornado Cash, for example, I know it's like that isn't necessarily possible, right? Because I haven't not fully up to date on how it works now, but I am aware that when you deposit funds in there, and if you can do some time series analysis or that kind of stuff, as Zach XBT has shown many times, where if they just withdraw the funds very quickly, you can do some time series analysis to figure out who or what that where those funds are going, right, to which destination address. I'm curious. You kind of already mentioned this, but what are some of the additional functionalities, maybe any alpha that you can share here, that you're going to be able to do apart from just shielding and unshielding transfers?
For sure. Yeah, I'll drop a little alpha for you guys. But, the first thing I would say is that Hush is a completely Turing complete execution layer. So literally any application that is currently built on Solana could be recreated on Hush. And in the next couple of months, we're going to be putting out a lot of tools that will allow for third-party developers to build this stuff more seamlessly. Right now, it is possible to build, but would require maybe a higher technical bar. So we're kind of working on tooling for developers for that. But I would say that the first thing to look out for in Hush is an integration with ZenBTC. Obviously, ZenBTC, for anyone who doesn't know, is our Bitcoin product. It's natively yield bearing, capturing fees from all of the things that we do, including Hush. And so we think that being able to mint Bitcoin directly into the private pool, and then essentially redeem ZenBTC for underlying Bitcoin privately is a huge unlock for Bitcoin, and will make the pool significantly more valuable. And then the last piece for that is being able to seamlessly swap between GeoSol and ZenBTC, all from within the shielded pool. So that is the next thing that I would say to look out for. And I think that that's going to be kind of a proof point of how powerful the Zenrock technology stack is to be able to do a lot of cool and interesting things. But from there, the sky is the limit. We want to, again, if you think about the biggest primitives on Solana, what are the things that users actually do? What are the things people actually want to do? We want to put every single one of those things into Hush.
I love the ambition. Love it. Can we maybe do some very simple kind of walkthroughs for some folks, for basically like anyone who's not fully familiar with Hush? What is kind of the process? Let's say I'm a first-time user, got some Sol in my Phantom wallet. What is kind of the process for going about, or let's say obviously not Sol, I have Jito Sol in my wallet, right? What is the process for me to kind of go about making sure that it is shielded and then, perhaps I don't know, after some period of time withdrawing it to fresh address? Like, what does that process look like for a first time user?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very simple. We've tried to make it very simple from a user operations perspective, because the user in Hush, all they need to do is essentially connect their Solana wallet that has Jito Sol in it, and they already have Jito Sol. It goes straight into the pool, and the Jito Sol essentially is now in the pool directly from that deposit. And we just pinned out the demo in case folks want to get pointed that way. But within Hush, now your Jito Sol is essentially there, and effectively a commitment is generated from that deposit, and that commitment goes into a Merkle tree on ZR chain, and there's a lot of different cryptographic and zero knowledge proofs that get done on that front. But then within the pool, and I think this is one of the more unique points of Hush, is that we've allowed transfers within the pool. So you effectively now received a Hush address once you've deposited into the Hush pool, and you can send your Jito Sol to another Hush address within the pool that's completely private. That's on the transfer side. But then on the unshielding side, what you could do is that once you submit your proof and essentially your recipient address where you want to send your Jito Sol to, you could send your Jito Sol and transfer it from the actual pool to the recipient, and the funds arrive in that recipient wallet with effectively no link to the original deposit. And that's really where the privacy comes in. So all you really need to have in this workflow, if you want to shield your Jito Sol, is a Solana wallet with Jito Sol. There's no other wallet that you need to download, and that was a big design choice. There's no other, LST that you need to get, or no other token that you need to get, which was also a big design choice from opportunity cost. And you can shield, you can transfer, and you can unshield all within the same flow and user interface.
Now, is it true that you can also do partial withdrawals? And then can you, like, if that is the case, can you maybe elaborate on why you guys chose to kind of go with that kind of design? Because obviously, like, that does differ slightly from Tornado Cash, if I'm not mistaken, unless I am very behind on how it works today.
That's totally right. I mean, first of all, I would say partial, like everything that we'd been trying to do was things that we as users wanted, right? And this was also probably the biggest reason why we ended up going with Jito Sol over Sol. In the beginning when we were brainstorming this, we all as users and people who are spend all of our time on chain, we all had the same reaction of like, yeah, but then I'm giving up the staking yield, like that kind of sucks, and so the same thing, the same sort of a reaction was what we had when kind of all or nothing withdrawals. It's just a bad user experience. It also makes the privacy of the pool a lot smaller. So if you have to shield and unshield the same amount, it means that it's easier to identify a specific user. Whereas if anyone could shield and then potentially transfer or receive a transfer and then do a partial withdrawal or a full withdrawal, it makes it the anonymity significantly stronger. But it really came down to, again, like a user experience thing for us, right? Like thinking about what would be the product that we would want to use, what would be the key functionalities and things that would annoy us. And so I think the partial withdrawal, and just to make the point clearly, like, I mean, Tornado Cash is just purely a mixer. That's very fundamentally different from Hush in a few key respects. Maybe the most important in terms of functionality is that for something like Tornado Cash, again, it's a certain amount in, everyone puts the same amount in into a specific pool, and then same amount out. Right? It's only really possible function is to do mixing, and also obviously Tornado Cash notorious for not really doing anything to prevent bad actors from using the protocol. But so for Hush, it's extremely different on both fronts. Hush is a full execution layer, right? The goal is to be able to do everything, everything that can be done in DeFi. Anything else that is being built on Solana can be done in Hush. So from that perspective, if you want to build out a large DeFi ecosystem on Hush, you don't want to make it so that each user has to always withdraw the same amount. I mean, it wouldn't even be practical, right? If you're trading and you lose some money, now you can't withdraw. Like, it doesn't make sense, right? So that's kind of was a key design decision. And just to touch very quickly on the compliance pieces that we've put in place, because it is important. We believe very strongly that people should be able to get privacy, but also that a key tenet to be able to allow everyone to have privacy is to exclude bad actors, right? So we have implemented multiple different with a partnership with CypherOwl, we've implemented multiple different compliance checks, OFAC checks, terrorist financing, all sorts of different things to make sure that people can use Hush, and also as larger institutions come on chain and people who care more about this stuff, right? Not just individuals, they're going to care a lot about kind of the compliance and making sure that things are being done in a way that they can operate. And we've really planned Hush from the beginning to see into this future of institutions and other larger entities wanting privacy on chain to be able to do all sorts of different things, and making sure that Hush can be kind of the provider of that.
Love it. Thanks for that explanation. Yeah, it's like crypto has almost always seemed like we really want privacy, and then when we get it, it's there's a whole lot of contention amongst people in the crypto space, obviously about privacy. We have institutions who obviously need it, right? And then we have everyone else who's kind of okay with the status quo. But if we really want to bring on the next generation, the next future crypto enthusiasts, we need to give them better tooling than what we currently have. So you did also touch on some of the compliance questions I already have, so thank you for that. Maybe we can pivot to a slightly more technical topic here, which I think you touched on slightly before in the explanation. But can you explain what are Miden Starks, and how are you guys kind of using this? How does it compare to Zcash's? I think they have Groth 16 system. Again, I'm not super in the weeds about any of this, but very curious if you could give us some explanation.
Yeah, I'm happy to, and Jack, feel free to jump in. But just at a base layer, taking a step back, Starks are a type of zero knowledge proof. You prove you know something without revealing exactly what you know. And Miden is effectively an open source library of a specific implementation of the ZK Starks. It's primarily optimized for speeds and really designed for privacy applications. This is fully open source. It's been battle tested, it's audited, and they've been around for a couple of years building privacy infrastructure. But the way Hush uses Miden Starks is, whenever you unshield or transfer within the Hush pool, you need to prove that you own valid funds without revealing effectively which funds are yours. And, the user effectively generates a Miden Stark proof locally, and that proof says, I know a valid, commitment within the actual, the actual zero knowledge proof, and I can derive a specific amount, and I'm entitled to spend this amount. And that proof via the Mine and Stark gets submitted to our chain, and then they just the validators on their chain effectively confirms that proof is valid. So the funds are moved, but the privacy is preserved via the Mine and Stark. And how this compares to Zcash, it's a different cryptographic approach, and there's different trade-offs here, but Zcash uses, as you said, Groth 16 proofs, and specifically on that front, there's a required trusted setup, or what's canonically known as a ceremony, where a group generates secret, parameters, and then destroys them. And if anyone really kept their peace, they could kind of break the system almost entirely. So Zcash's validators essentially run this ceremony in terms of this trusted setup. And Mine and Stark, in the implementation, the cryptographic implementation with Mine and Starks, it requires no trusted setup. So there's no ceremony, there's no lingering kind of trust assumptions that the user needs to kind of have. But it's different trade-offs ultimately, because there's actually an interesting point where Zcash is not actually fully quantum resistant, but Mine and Starks are actually quantum resistant because it doesn't require any sort of trusted setup. So Zcash, this is Hush is a very inspired Zcash kind of approach. It was fully inspired by the work that we did to bring Zcash into Solana via ZenZec, and we were fully pilled that Zcash has pioneered kind of shielding and shielded transactions. But I like to think of it that Hush takes that concept that has been around for 10 plus years, upgrades the cryptography with newer privacy enhancements in terms of removing the actual ceremony or trusted setup. It adds this piece of quantum resistance, and also improves any sort of privacy guarantees because of the actual cryptographic implementation that we've used. So ultimately, look, it's the same goal, but we like to think that it's a better foundational infrastructure that could really enable multiple different privacy applications to be built on top of it. But Jack, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No, I think that pretty much covers it. I would say one thing that's really cool. I mean, yeah, as Adi mentioned, the Miden team is stacked, and the technology that they're building is really awesome, and everyone should check it out if you haven't. But what's really, I would say, one of the most unique things about Hush compared to a lot of other ZK implementations that are out there that are gaining speed is that the entire proof is generated in your browser locally, right? And that means that essentially no secrets are ever shared with any external party in any way. A lot of other ZK, larger proofs need to be generated at data centers. So you do have to send secrets over to data centers and other places to run those proofs where theoretically secrets could be leaked out. And this is just, a power of Miden and the technology. But I think, yeah, to Adi's point, we're big fans of Zcash and Zcash bulls. I think that privacy is just kind of in maybe the first inning of what's going to be a multi-year build out of privacy technology. And there's a lot of things that Zcash is great for, like long-term storehold of wealth. But in terms of actual usage, being able to use DeFi privately, we all kind of, I think, understand that Zcash as a UTXO chain, it's not going to be able to be used in that way. And that's kind of what opens the door for applications like Hush to be able to, create a lot more practical applications on top of that architecture.
Amazing. Appreciate the answers there. So we are coming up on time. I did want to make sure we have a few more questions that we can get to, though. Can you guys maybe talk about the competitors in the scene, if you have any, and how you guys kind of differ from them? Just again, not super in the weeds here, but I know we have Privacy Cash, there's Arcium, there's a few others as well. Um, Obviously, they don't have the GeoSol kind of integration like you guys do. So I'm very curious kind of how you guys plan to, continue differentiating yourselves from other competitors in the space. But then also, what is, your 2 to 5 year kind of roadmap or plan for Hush Protocol? Kind of what do you guys hope to see on Solana in that time frame?
Yeah, I could take that one. I mean, I feel like privacy on Solana has definitely come a long way. It was primarily, the first application on Solana was this company called Elusive. It was this main privacy Solana. They had shielded transfers, they had compliance features, they had like kind of a similar tech to Hush, but it actually shut down in early 2024. I think it was primarily due to the regulatory pressure that they were seeing, and that left a pretty big gap in the market. And over the course of the last 2 years or so, you've seen a lot of different privacy solutions come out of the woodwork. And it's interesting because ZK could be used for a variety of different things. You've seen like zero knowledge rollups with layer 2s on Ethereum. You've seen Light Protocol use it for zero knowledge like compression to reduce state costs across blockchains. You've had also like encrypted kind of compute infrastructure via Arcium that uses MPC for confidential execution, and that's a different kind of approach from a actual like transaction privacy perspective, but in terms of our main sort of competitors, I would say that there are like really two of them. One is Privacy Cash, and the other is built on Arcium as well. It's leaving my mind right now, but I think generally that there's a lot of different like compute and encryption kind of use cases that are being used right now from a ZK perspective, but as it relates to privacy. As it relates to Privacy Cash, what we've seen that it's just a generalized mixer. There's no real like programmable privacy that really could be built on top of it. It kind of works for one-time anonymization and doesn't support really applications on top of it, which is where really like Hush is different. Not only are we really combining full transaction privacy between addresses and amounts and unlinking withdrawals and deposits, we also obviously have a unique approach to our asset choice, and that's the reason that we worked with the number one liquid staking token on Solana, GeoSol. We also have compliance by design, and then the main point is that we have programmability embedded into Hush, and that's going to fully launch in our V2, where we have effectively this virtual machine where developers could be building applications on top of it. So our real like North Star is not really to compete with mixers. It's not really competing with encryption, private encryption layers or, private execution type of environments. But we're really trying to build like the privacy infrastructure for Solana that plugs, everything on Solana into it, and ultimately have a myriad of different use cases, whether it's private swaps or whether it's private, DEX aggregation, private vaults on the DeFi side, private borrow lend. And I think that's going to be more and more clear over the course of this year and next year as institutions come on board, as people realize that everything is tracked on chain, as institutions start actively trading on chain. A lot of them don't want to be they don't want to have their trades, fully public. And I think, these types of dark pools or these types of privacy use cases are going to be really interesting. And then, over the course of the next 3 to 5 years, as we build out this core infrastructure, Hush is extremely well positioned to work with AI agents and the agentic economy to effectively allow AI agents to use Hush in order to make their transactions private for whatever use case that they may use. So this is kind of the world that we're foreseeing, and Hush is building out really the core building blocks to enable all these different use cases to leverage privacy.
Amazing. The agentic portion that you mentioned there gets me very, very excited. So maybe we can leave that for another X space. But why don't I leave you guys with one more question here? Something you can leave us, just leave some thoughts for the audience here. What are you basically most excited about on Solana? And anything that, obviously we're seeing a whole bunch of, AI news, especially the past month, seems like it's been nearly every day. But, whether it's AI or something else, is there anything that you guys are, obviously very excited about apart from privacy?
Yeah. I would say, is the secret sauce is when you have a situation where you have the tech, but also have product that people actually want to use. And that's actually not super common, right? And I think that when you think gee, why is Solana doing so well? There's probably 5-10 other chains that are just as powerful in terms of its TPS or whatever else you want to benchmark it on that don't have any of the activity. It's well, the actual product and the user experience and the things that you can do is exciting, and that's what drives people in, right? And I think that even going back to the last question of how do we differ from, pick your privacy protocol? There's certain, a lot of the technology at this point is open source. It's not so, many teams can build privacy technology. I don't think that that's something that Zenrock is the only company that could ever build this. The point is that we're really focused on building the user experience and building the products out that people actually want to use. And I use people, meaning not just retail traders, but also institutions, right? I'm really excited about looking into the future of institutions really adopting on-chain rails in a super legitimate way. I think that the two obvious first use cases are trading, stocks and all other asset trading, and then also payments, right? And so I think that as institutions really come on chain, not just as an experimentation, I think we're still seeing institutions come on in the experimentation phase, but when they actually come on chain in a legitimate sense and they transfer large swaths of their business, I think that the ability for all of retail to, find ways to do different things based on this massive increase in volume and flow will be just a massive kind of tailwind for the entire on-chain economy, not just for the institutions that are now using those rails. So I think from my perspective, what we're excited about is saying, okay, how can we build out products and services that are going to actually interest people, that people actually want to use, that will be useful to people, and not just build out really beautiful white papers that are cool for the nerds, but that people don't really care about, right? And I think that what is the most exciting opportunity for Hush is being able to build out extremely complex privacy technology, but also keep it very product focused, keep it user experience focused. I mean, that's always at the top of our mind in every single thing that we're building. And I think that, when you think about the future, it's the companies that think about the user and build things that the user actually want. And this is, crypto and non-crypto, tend to succeed, and those that don't tend not to succeed.
I love it. I don't think you could have put it any better. It's almost like you guys are trying to make sure that the product is in a way obfuscating away all the complexity away, therefore increasing the number of potential users that you guys get using your product. I'm very, very excited to see how you guys, how Hush Protocol develops over the years, and obviously would love to have you guys back on so we can continue the discussion around other areas within crypto that you guys are also interested in. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for joining this special X Space with Hush Protocol. If you guys want to learn more about Hush, you can find them on X. It's going to be at Hush Protocol _ is their X name. And then I want to say the website should be hushprotocol.com. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Jack.
.xyz.
.xyz. Hushprotocol.xyz. Awesome. All right. So thank you so much, Jack and Adi. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to send me a DM and I can send them over to the team. I don't think I have an option to invite a guest, so we're going to have to end it here. But
yeah, thanks
thank
so
you
much for
guys.
thanks so much for having us on. Looking forward to building more stuff.
Amazing. Have a good one, guys. Take care.